If this conference makes the judgment that nuclear power should be restricted and then abandoned, it has, of course, huge implications for the energy mix that we use. It does more than that, though. It emphasizes, in my judgment, three interrelated questions. One relates to the mix that we are going to use for energy, and more directly, it raises the question as to why the United States and other nations have not developed a veritable Marshall Plan for the acquisition of alternative, environmentally friendly energy sources. That we have not is an absolute disgrace. The second question is, if we move vigorously, when is it realistic to expect that we will have enough abundant alternative energy sources that we can profoundly reduce the use of fossil fuels? And related to that, since any realistic projection, even if we do move vigorously, indicates that it's going to be quite some time, what are we going to be using for our energy mix in the intervening years? Now, these three interrelated questions lead me to what I think is the most important, most critical single question and issue, and that is the following. At the rate we are going, in the absence of very vigorous actions, when, that is, what year, do we reach the tipping point beyond which the damage we're doing to the environment, global climate change consequences are so severe that societal devastation and catastrophe is virtually inevitable? I believe that in the coming years, that is going to be the centerpiece of the debate. And why shouldn't it be? After all, what's at stake is the very survival of our society, at least a society as we know it now. Because I am interested in systems, a few weeks ago I put together two systems diagrams related to the tipping point. One is pessimistic, the other optimistic. The pessimistic one assumes that we will continue with business as usual, that whatever actions we take are going to be inadequate, and that we do not manage successfully the critical determinants related to the tipping point, such as population size and population growth, CO2 emissions, control of methane sources, among others. And that these important factors, these determinants, then converging, the ones I mentioned plus others, will result in a tipping point with societal devastation. The optimistic scenario is just the opposite, that we will act vigorously, we will control and manage the determinants, and we will avoid the tipping point. Now, one other aspect that I think is worth mentioning. If people in our society especially young people, get to believe that the pessimistic scenario is the more likely, that a tipping point will occur, that perception will likely result in loss of faith in the future. And that loss of faith in the future among people in the society has dire consequences for individuals and for the society, and is in point of fact virtually independent of whether the tipping point actually occurs. All that's needed is the perception that it will occur. Now, everything I've just said and my systems diagrams are beyond the scope of this conference, and for that reason I decided that I would not show them, nor will I hand them out, but I have copies of them, and if anybody's interested, I'd be glad to share them with you. Now, this conference is co-sponsored by Physicians for Social Responsibility, one of the leading, many think the leading organization for many decades in regard to nuclear sanity, prevention of nuclear proliferation, and the prevention of nuclear warfare. But we all know why we're here. We are here because of the passion, the tenacity, the relentless determination over more than 4 decades of one extraordinary activist. And since we're at the start of what could be a momentous conference, I don't know if I can find her, but I was going to, oh yes, I thought it would be a really good time to ask Helen Caldicott to stand and be recognized. Those are 2 impressive presentations. Let's hope the government of Japan is listening. And now, Arnie Gunderson, what did they know? When did they know it?